A budget is a plan of the resources needed to achieve an organization's goals. An operating budget is a short term budget, typically 1 year, that focuses on the daily operations of the organizations. Before presenting the detailed scheduling of an operating budget, we first must discuss how organizations use budgets to plan and control their activities. So, this is an excerpt from our textbook that describes what a budget is and what an operating budget is. So basically, an operating budget is the overarching budget, and or no, the regular budget is the overarching budget. An operating budget is a budget that focuses on day-to-day things and day-to-day activities. So this splits up into two different categories: planning phase and control phase. So the planning phase basically helps as budgets are established in advance to help organizations communicate their plans to employees and help to employees to coordinate activities across the entire organization. So this is basically, let's say if the marketing department suspects that everything's going to increase probably about 15%, but that nothing is communicated to the distribution department that everything will increase 15%, then one department won't actually be ready for things like that. And then what will happen is they'll have misfire, discourse, and then pretty much they'll just be not as effective as they could have been if everyone would have known the budget beforehand. And in the control phase is actually where the person who makes the budget or the company as a whole looks back and decides, okay, now that we decided what we were going to do, how well did everyone execute on what we were going to do? And that's how the two phases works. So then it goes from also not only what they're doing, but how they do it. So it says that successful companies approach budgeting from the bottom up. This requires involvement of various employees within the organization, not just upper management. Lower level employees often know more about the function areas than upper management, and they can be excellent sources of information for budgeting purposes. Although getting input from employees throughout the organization can be time consuming, this approach tends to increase employee motivation and acceptance of the budget. So this basically just talks about employee empowerment and saying how a great step to get the budget actually done is talking to the people who are going to be using that money every single day. The employees at the bottom of the company, they're the ones who are going to be directly using the money that was created every day. So basically, let's say like in the example they talk about Ben and Jerry's. So let's say you're talking to your store manager. Well, the store manager knows exactly how much the pint of ice cream is and how much they'd sold for and how much profit's being made directly. They see it in all the equipment they use, how lucrative each one is, and how effective it is at whatever price they're using it at. So they know the most at that point than anyone else. But there's also different types of companies that have a budget committee that supervises the budgeting process. A budget committee is a group with the organization responsible for overseeing and approving the master budget. A master budget is a series of budget scheduling outlines the organization plans for the upcoming period, typically for a year, and presented in monthly or quarterly time periods. So this approach sets a specific team to be over the budget, and this is done much more effectively. But the problem with this, or the issue you might run into, is that these people most of the time did not work in the company at the bottom and don't know the actual needs that the people have at the bottom. So it's very difficult to choose between which one you want, but it's easy to pick at the end of the day when you realize you count the cost of your company and see what your company needs exactly.